Hello, Misfit Nation. This is Dave Lukas, and welcome to another episode of the Misfit Entrepreneur, where it's our job to help you unleash your inner misfit and break through to higher levels of success, wealth, and fulfillment by bringing you the best insight and information from the world's top entrepreneurs, with a specific focus on their misfit side, the specific traits, habits, and secrets that have allowed them to thrive and succeed. As a reminder, if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button below. Give this video a like and comment as well. We do our best to respond to all of the comments that we get as timely as possible. So definitely don't hesitate to comment to us. This week's Misfit Entrepreneur is Robb Reinhold. Robb is the founder of Maverick Trading. It's a unique firm that provides capital to traders to help them succeed, essentially staking them. Robb has been trading markets since 1997 and has devoted the last 15 years to the intricate fields of psychology, neuroscience, and behavior modification. He knows what it takes to succeed in really one of the toughest games in the world. Many of you know that I've owned a business in trading education for, almost 20 years now, called 12-Minute Trading. And there's no doubt that learning how to be a disciplined trader in the markets has helped me as an entrepreneur. And it all begins between your ears. I've asked Robb on today, not just to talk about building his business and the trading side of things as a business, but to share the lessons learned from trading that translate directly to entrepreneurial success. So let's jump in. Robb, are you ready to unleash your inner misfit?
I am so ready. Let's do this.
Well, hey, it's a pleasure to have you on. And as we do with every guest on the show, take the first just 5 minutes or so and just tell us your story. How'd you get to where you're at?
Okay, boy, I'm going to go all the way back to sixth grade. In sixth grade, I had an awesome teacher, one of those teachers that said, we're not going to do what the textbook says to do. We're going to do real life. Taught us real life stuff. And one week brought in this guy, suit and a tie. He was a banker. And he explained to us how banks work. And every time we saw mom write a check out, how that process worked. And when he left, he gave us all these blank checkbooks, like fake checkbooks. And our teacher said, okay, you now are going to have a bank account in class. Anytime you do something good or bad, you either are going to get a money in, or you have to write me a check, money out when you do things bad, get a bad grade, stuff like that. And a week later brought in the Wall Street Journal and gave us all a copy of the business pages and showed us how to read the newspaper, how to read the stock charts in the newspaper. And then said, if you want to use your bank account to buy and sell stock to try to make more money, because at the end of the month, he would open up the store and you could buy all these cool NFL pencils and stuff like that. That's all I wanted to do. I was so into this. I'm sure none of the other kids even cared whatsoever, but this was what I was into. I was studying the Sunday paper. We got the paper once a week on Sunday. I was studying which stocks I was going to buy. You know, that lasted for a bit. And then I got into junior high and, got interested in girls and sports. And then when I was 16 years old, I got in a car accident and got a head injury. They told me there was no brain damage, but there's been times in my life where you could argue that. Anyway, I got a settlement for $20,000 and I put it into stocks at 18. And over the next 3 or 4 years, that money grew to about $45,000. And then as a 22-year-old kid, I'm like, I want to do this for my life. I want to do this. So I took my $45,000 and turned it back into $20,000 pretty quickly. And this was right at the beginning of the ability to even trade online. I was walking down to a Schwab office where they actually had a computer terminal that you could use. And I found out about a company called Maverick Trading that was right in my home office, and they would sit you down. You had a computer and you traded there. That was a great environment to start out in. And eventually I became the owner and the president of the company, and I've been running it ever since. And again, I love the name Maverick Trading. I didn't pick that name, but I love it. And I think it fits in with Misfit.
Yep.
We're going to do things differently than everyone else is doing them.
Well, and that's the thing too in trading is, you're looking for a way to have a true edge because and this kind of brings me to my first question for you around trading because, well, I've got stats that I share when I present on what it means to be a successful trader. I'm going to share those, and then I want to get into this on a couple things. So here are the stats, okay? And you probably heard these before. I'm going to pull them up. I got them on a sheet here. So 80% of all day traders quit within the first 2 years. Among all day traders, nearly 40% day trade for only 1 month. Within 3 years, only 13% continue to day trade. After 5 years, only 7% remain. The individual investor underperforms a market index by 1.5% per year. Active traders underperform by 6.5% annually. Day traders, though, with strong past performance go on to earn strong returns in the future, though only about 1% of all day traders are able to predictably profit net of fees. And profitable day traders make up a small proportion of all traders, about 1.6% in an average year. So the question that I was thinking of, and people are probably thinking of it too, when they hear that is, with all those stats and hearing that, most people would think, like, why would I ever want to trade? Why would I want to, go at this, really what's one of the toughest games in the world? Because you really do have to have an edge, because as an individual, as a retail trader, you're going up against the best of the best in the world. You're going up against the Wall Street firms and everything else. And so I found that you got to play in the margins where they don't play, and that's how you can win. But both you and I have seen many people succeed, including ourselves, despite those stats. So why should people consider trading as a profession or a way to make additional income?
That is a great question, and there's lots of answers for that. But the first thing I thought of was, when you're going through all the stats, those are very similar to the stats of starting any business. The vast majority of those will fail. 80% will be out of business within that first year, I think, are some of the stats. It's tough. And you specifically cited day trading. We're not huge fans of day trading. And here's why. I have a saying at Maverick where we call it trading is trading. When people say, oh, do you trade bonds? I said, look, everything in the end is a symbol and a market price that goes up and down based on supply and demand. That's it. That's all trading is. Whether it's a bond, whether it's a stock, whether it's a commodity, it's the same game. But they all move at different speeds. And so it's like if I took my kid who was learning how to drive and put them in an Indy 500 car, the crash rates would be through the roof. So you don't do that. But the problem is, most people, when they get started in trading, they jump in the Indy 500 car, and there's lots of crashes. It's a terrible way to start. And the biggest reason why day trading is so tough is that as a new trader, you are bound to make mistakes. And as a new driver, you're bound to make mistakes. You're not going to check your blind spot one time, or you're not going to do this. When you're going 100 miles an hour and you have 100 decisions to make in a day, you're going to crash. You're going to crash. People that get into trading and they do a different strategy or take it slow, where they're only making 3 decisions every week, they're going to have a lot less crashes, not because they're any better. They're still new, but they just put themselves in a situation where it's not the Indy 500. They're on the go-kart track with one or other driver. So everyone jumps into the top, jumps into the hardest thing, which is why you see a lot of crashes.
I love that you said that, because that's like, when I give those stats, typically when I'm presenting or on stage or whatever, that's where I go next, because typically the more people trade, the more they lose. I've gotten to a point where most of them I trade once a week. Fridays around 2 p.m. is when I trade my trades for the week. After all the news events and things that happen out there, and that's one of the reasons that you can be successful if you have a specific setup, you have an edge with it, and you just focus on that and you stick to that, and you don't try to deviate. I think a lot of people get in trouble because, and you probably see this, and this goes to beginning trading. Like, a lot of people get infatuated with trading. They're like, oh, this is my way to create the income, create the freedom, do all that stuff, and it is. But what most people do is they try like 20 different strategies. They go from next guru to the next guru to the next guru. They never even master one, and they ultimately lose, right? No matter if it's day trading or just traditional trading strategies. And I think, I've always remembered, you remember the movie City Slickers, right? With Curly, right? The one thing, right? Find your one thing.
Yep.
And so, what's your advice then, or your thoughts then, if somebody does want to become a professional trader, where should they start? How should they build some of the discipline that's needed to succeed in this game?
All right, that's a great question. And when you think about trading as a career, and that's really what you said, okay, you wanted to get into the world of trading and trading for a long time. There's a process to do anything in a career. And it doesn't start out with doing brain surgery on day one. If you want to be a brain surgeon, that's not until like 10 years later, until you're actually doing a brain surgery on your own. So the first thing is to have the mindset that this is like everything else you do in life. There is a process that you need to go through and complete before you even have the ability to be profitable. We have a saying at Maverick Trading, traders aren't born, traders are forged. And what forging is when you put metal into heat, pressure, hammering over and over and over again until it gets hardened to the point where it can withstand the heat and the pressure. That's what happens with trading. No one was born a great trader. Traders are made. And so to understand that that is the process that you have to go through is the first part of success. Now, look, I'll be honest. When I started into it, I started in like everyone else. I was young. I was ambitious. I was willing to work 24 hours a day. Trading is one of those jobs where the harder you work, the less you make. Think about that.
Explain that. Explain that, because it's really true, but most people don't understand that.
Well, it's everything else in life. Like, okay, well, just work harder. It would be silly if you're like, hey, I'm not getting the trading results I wanted, and I told you trade harder. Like, trade harder? What does that even mean? Spend more time trading. Well, wait, if I'm not successful, how's that going to help me out if I'm spending more time? Excuse me. So again, the process, you just got to go through the process. And the process, is different for everyone. It's going to take different times for everyone. I tell everyone 5 to 7 years until you can reliably predict on an income stream from trading.
Yeah, and I'd agree. You have to go through that rite of passage with it. And again, going back to entrepreneurship, it translates so well to entrepreneurship because you have to go through that same type of rite of passage as an entrepreneur to, figure out the business model that truly works, build the business around it, get the right people to surround you to help make that business go and everything, right? And it's the same with building your own trading business. Now, it's a little more of a lonely game for a lot of people because they're doing it on their own. It's them, against the market every day. So, that's where there's things like masterminds and stuff that come in with traders that are helpful for that. But I think you're right in that people need to understand that it's a long game. And I think that's hard in our society where we are trained to be instant. I always joke, we stop the microwave with 5 seconds. We can't even stop. We can't even wait for the 5 seconds for the microwave anymore. And that's the thing with trading is you can get that instant kind of dopamine hit when you do a trade and that sort of thing. But to truly consistently profit over time, you got to play the long game, and you got to pay your dues in that sense. And so that's really, I think, important for people to understand because most people will burn out. They'll burn an account out, within months if they are rushing to, they have to make, they want to take a $10,000 account and turn it into a $100,000 account in 6 months because, they watched a movie. It doesn't work like that, right? Let's turn it into 11,000.
You're going to lose it. And if you do it, you are guaranteed to lose it because you didn't do it the right way. Same thing with growing a business too quickly. If you don't have that foundation, it's not going to last long time.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So if that is a backdrop, what then? Let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, okay, I've been looking at trading for a long time. I understand I got to play the long game. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to invest the time, take it slow, maybe like paper trade for a while to really start to understand some strategies and figure out which one that I really want to focus on. Once somebody does go live, though, that's when the rubber meets the road, right? It's always funny how, like with traders, paper trading, they win every trade and then bam, their first trade, when they go to live in the markets, they typically lose or have trouble with it. So what are some of the biggest mistakes mistakes traders make early when starting out? And then what are some of the biggest mistakes when they're more seasoned that traders make that you've seen?
Great, great question. And you used the term dopamine earlier, and I just want to talk about that, because the question is, what do young traders do to undermine themselves? And it is completely the emotional side. I have never met anyone who has failed at trading because they didn't know how to read a chart. Learning how to read a chart is a very simple process. And so what people do when they get into trading, they put all their time and effort and focus on learning technicals, learning the options, learning all this stuff. And they get it. Intellectually, they get it. And then they go out into the market. And it makes a whole lot of sense. I get it. I know the process. And then you're put to the test. And then all of a sudden, you start to get dopamine flowing through your system. You start to get adrenaline coursing through your system, and cortisol spikes. And they've done lots of studies now on the human brain. One of my favorite studies is they hooked people up to an MRI machine while they were playing blackjack. And while they were playing blackjack with no money on the line, all of the brain activity was in their prefrontal cortex. That's where we make logical, rational decisions. And it takes about 3 to 4 seconds for the prefrontal cortex to go through all the possibilities to make the best decision possible. Once they gave them money to play with, the brain activity in the prefrontal cortex went away, and it all went into the insula, where the decisions are made instantly. There is no thought process. They're made instantly. It's the fight or flight response. And so you take these people that have spent hours and hours and hours studying on charts and entry points and exit points, and then they get in there and they don't even understand that they are literally using the wrong part of their brain. And then they kick themselves and say, why? Why did I mess this up? I know better than this. And then they go do it again, and their prefrontal cortex shuts off, their insula kicks in, they make the same decision. You can't learn that in a book. I mean, yes, there are books out there, but not really about trading psychology. That's our big focus at Maverick Trading, is that, yes, look, you can learn technicals anywhere. You can learn strategies and edges anywhere. Can you, when you're put under duress, under pressure, can you follow your system? That is where traders fail. That is the entire game of trading. And everyone thinks it's in the charts. Everyone thinks it's in the graphs. It's not. It's, can you do what you're supposed to do when the pressure's on? So that's my advice, is focus on that. Look, you have to know a minimum of charting, a minimum of technicals. You need to spend years and years and years on your trade psychology.
You know, gosh, there's so much to unpack on that, because that's something I want to spend a lot of time, because it relates so well to entrepreneurship as well. The holy grail to trading success. I've spent a lot of time. I spend more time on this with trading students than anyone, and it's between your ears. That's the holy grail, right? Everybody's looking for this strategy or this or that that's going to make all the difference. This one indicator, all these things, and in the end, it's right here between your ears, right? And I've got a lot of thoughts on that and what it takes to do that. But I want to hear more about what you were saying in yours, because the mental game is the key. Trading's a lonely business, right? It's you in the market going up against the best every day. So let's dig in. Talk to us more about that holy grail between the ears. From your study of the mental side of trading, what are the keys to forming and developing and disciplining the right mindset? And then at the same time, talk a little bit about how that translates to entrepreneurship, because it goes right there too. So go ahead.
Absolutely. So the first thing we have all of our traders do, the second they come in the door at Maverick Trading, they take a trading personality test. It's based off of the Myers-Briggs. And it's specifically about, what would you do in these trading situations? And once you take the test, you have your score, and your score is basically who you are as a trader. This is your natural tendencies. So I'm an ENTP. I'm a very strong extrovert. I'm a very strong E. I love activity. I love busy places. I love concerts. I love movement. It is an absolute 100% guarantee that any strong extrovert will be an overtrader. It's a guarantee. I can tell you right now, I could have someone that never traded before, takes our test, and I could say, here are the 5 things you're going to struggle with. So in the beginning, I struggled with overtrading. And I would just tell myself, just be disciplined. I mean, I'm disciplined in all other areas of my life. I can do this. Just don't make these trades. I kept doing it. And I would beat myself up. I would beat myself up and be like, Rob, you are so stupid. Just don't do it. Kept doing it. Kept doing it. The problem was I was trying to do something unnatural because my natural state is to be active and busy. So in the world of trading, I need to be active and busy. I couldn't not do it because it's against my nature, totally against my nature to wait and be patient. I mean, my slogan for life is ready, fire, aim. You know, I act first, I'll aim later. That was a really tough thing for me. And I really, like I said, beat myself up over it over and over again. I mean, I would do things like I would have a security card to get into my account to trade. And I gave it to my wife and said, okay, I've already made all the trades I should make this week. Don't give this back to me until Monday. Okay? And she's like, okay. And of course, like the next day, I casually, oh, you know that card I gave you? I need that back. I just have to check something. And she's like, okay, here you go. I blew it that week. And so I told her, no, listen, whatever I say, don't give it back to me. And she never gave it back to me. And so I had to figure out other ways to get my stimulus. And after a while, I didn't need to give the card to her anymore because I had found ways to get the stimulus that I craved outside of trading. So the very first thing everyone needs to do is know who you are. If you are a very strong I, an introvert, hesitation is going to be your problem. So it's not overcoming your weaknesses, it's embracing your weaknesses. So I tell people at Maverick all the time, look, if you're an overtrader, you're an overtrader. I did a speech at a Trader Expo once, and my first thing I did is I got up and said, look, all of you are going to lose because you suck. And the audience just looked at me like, and I just sat there for like 5 seconds, and they like, what is this speech about? And I said, look, I suck too. My name is Rob. I'm an overtrader. And it was like an AA meeting, right? We went into all of the things like, this is who I am. I follow my rules 9 out of 10 times, but I can't do it 10 out of 10 times. Like, this is what I do. This is who I am. Once we stop fighting our nature and we embrace who we are and we just really focus on how do I trade in spite of being an overtrader? I'm never going to not overtrade. I can't stop doing that. So how can I succeed in spite of that? And to your point, that is the real important thing when becoming an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur, is that I have fully admitted there are some things that I just suck at, and I'll never be good at them because it's not in my nature. And the things I suck at, I don't even want to be good at them. I don't want to be patient. Ugh, being patient. Like, I want action. I want to be moving. So my advice to everyone in trading, in entrepreneurship, is come to terms with who you are and come to terms with it. There are things about you that are not good and are going to be detrimental to your success. You can try more discipline. You can beat yourself up when you screwed up. Or you can be like, oh, I'm so bad at accounting. I should never be near an accounting book ever in my entire life. I need to get someone else to help me with this because I am literally so bad at it. Instead of, I'll just do better next time. I'll do my books next month. No, you won't. No, you won't. Just farm that out.
You know, so I mean, what I'm hearing from you, and I think this is it's a key to just almost all areas of life, though, is it is self-awareness. You have to know yourself. You have to know what you're good at, what you're not good at, what your tendencies are. And, this is something, as an entrepreneur and trader that, I learned a long time ago, and I actually wrote those things down. Like, it's like pros and cons of Dave, right? And it's like, when I'm having, like one of those times where maybe things aren't going necessarily, the way that I expect them to go in business or like even in trading, I look at that because a lot of times it's because I've gone to, the con side and I'm doing things on the con side, like maybe over trading or maybe, messing with a position that really, I don't need to mess with, but, I'm thinking, oh, this might happen. So I do it. Right. And I'm deviating from the rules, like things like that. And so I have that I look at to kind of bring me back into sync because it's a discipline thing. And I think the biggest thing and the biggest challenge for people today, especially, like I said, kind of an instant world that we live in, is staying disciplined for things. Like people start things all the time and never finish. Like it's more common than anything that, people start and don't finish, right? It fizzles out. You see that and this is a human nature thing. You see that every year in January at the gym, right? Where it's packed for the month of January. And then, most people are gone by the end of that, right? Because we want those results like right now, and they're not going to come like that. And so I think before anybody gets into business as an entrepreneur or even trading or anything, I think taking the time to really understand yourself, a test like what you said, like a Myers-Briggs or some of the, even like a DISC test, just to understand who you are, what your tendencies are, what your personality gravitates to, so you can see what the good things are with that, and then know what the potential challenges are with that so that you can recognize them. I think that's one of the best exercises that anyone can do in their lives. And most people never do it. So
well,
that's
Dave, we actually put that test online for free. So if anyone wants to take that test, we did that about a year ago. We've had it internally for 12, 13 years. And we finally said, hey, let's put this out to the public. It is traderpersonalitytests with an S.com. Go take it, see what your Myers-Briggs based trading thing is. And we tell you, hey, these are all the things you're going to be good at. These are all the things you're going to suck at. And I want to get to one question you asked me earlier is you asked me the mistake that beginning traders make.
Yeah.
And then you said, what about the experienced traders? The mistake the experienced traders make is that they go through all the battles to get over their cons, as you put it, all their negatives. And then what happens is they relax and they fall back to their natural tendencies. Again, my natural tendency is action. My natural tendency is clicking a button. Those are my natural tendencies. You need to stay continuously paranoid of yourself to know that you're going to fall back into your negatives of your personality. You always have to be on guard with that. If you are an under trader, you have to struggle with disinterest. What happens a lot of times when people are trading and they get a very methodical way to trade, and then you just get disinterested. And now you kind of stop trading, just out of disinterest. Again, to know yourself, to know where your natural tendencies are going to be, you've got to be on guard on that for your whole career. And paranoia is what I use as the term. I'm consistently paranoid that I'm going to fall back into my bad habits that caused me pain and loss in my early years.
It's funny you say that because even on the entrepreneur side, I talk a lot on the show, and, even when, coaching entrepreneurs are sitting even on boards, you have to have a healthy paranoia to succeed, right? When everything's going right, you have to at least have the little bit of looking over your shoulder, right? To know that there could be something and you have to be ready for it, right? That's just the game of entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship, both trading, it's a series of peaks and valleys. And, for the most part, you spend a lot more time in the valleys than you do the peaks. The peaks are so sweet, when you're there. But like, I know when I have a really, really good run in my trading account and my profitability is like at a high for the year, that means that probably things are going to turn. So it's a good time for me to like cash things out, go to the sideline, wait for like a move to happen, and then get back in. Right. But it's taken me a long time to learn that, a really long time. And it's still even hard to do, even at this stage in my career. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
When you were a younger trader, at those moments was when you had your delusions of grandeur. You're planning out your family's future, and you're like, I've already doubled this again. I'm going to triple it and quadruple it. And that's when you went harder. That's when you traded harder. Yeah. And it caused you to lose it. So now you get to the peak and you're like, uh-oh, I know what's coming. Yeah. And then the great thing is you don't do the things that caused the valley the last 3 times. Mm-hmm. You do them differently. And then all of a sudden now it's more of just a base.
Yep.
You have your peak and then your base.
Yeah. Interesting enough, the, when most of the accidents happen on Everest, it's not going up, it's coming down.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. That's when most of the accidents on Everest happen. So it's kind of an interesting kind of metaphor for it in that sense. Anything else around trading, the mental game, that you want to share that you feel is important? Because I do want to talk to you a little bit about just the entrepreneur side of you and building your business. So anything else around trading in the mental game you feel is important to share?
I do want to share a trading experiment I'm doing on my YouTube channel. I guess it's mine. It's called the Flat Earth Trading Society. Now, I named it the Flat Earth Trading Society because I wanted to build controversy. Because what we're doing on the Flat Earth Trading Society is we're saying that all the books out there and all the websites, 97% of it is all about when to get in. Again, it's all about the entry. Very little about when to get out. All the studies show that human beings are really good at getting in. There's a study that was done on 12 million trades, and they showed that 59% of the trades were winners by retail traders. So retail traders really could do better than 50-50. The problem is their risk to reward ratio was for every dollar they won, they lost 2. Their exits were terrible. Why were their exits terrible? Remember, in an entry with no money in the line, you use your prefrontal cortex. On the exits, you don't use your prefrontal cortex. You use fight or flight, which is an automated response. So I started this experiment to say we're going to pick trades at total random. And I've been using random methods. I've been throwing darts. I used a Ouija board once. Just having a lot of fun with this dumb ways to pick stocks. And then we flip a coin, heads we go long, tails we go short kind of thing. And we're up to trade 40 now. And all we're doing is selling the losers and holding the winners as long as we can using a trailing stop order. So if it goes against us, we get out. If it goes for us, we lock in our gains as long as we possibly can. And at this point, it's profitable. It's a profitable system. I'm going to do at least 100 trades. The reason I want to bring this experiment out to the public is that I want to show people that it doesn't matter how you pick them. Because you could try as hard as you want. If you chose 10 stocks to trade, I can guarantee you're going to lose on 3 or 4 of them. No matter how hard you tried. You could put in 10 hours of effort on each trade, you're still going to lose on 30, 40, 50%. It's just how it is. If you treat them right, though, if you hold the winners and cut the losers, it didn't really matter how you chose them because you could choose things at random and just have a 50-50 distribution and then try to make more money on the good ones and cut the bad ones. I'm doing it to show the psychological problems with trying to determine when to get out while your money's on the line. Everything needs to be predetermined. And then when you finally get to the point where you have to take action, your brain is not doing the right thing. So here's the great thing about the experiment. Because we put in 0 effort into picking a stock. So, let me just ask you, Dave, if you just picked a stock out of a hat and I told you, I need you to put some of your money in it. And if it started to go against you, would it be pretty easy to cut that position?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm not emotionally involved with the position. It's either going to work or it's not going to work unless I've got a different strategy against it. But if it's just straight up buying a stock and hoping it goes up, then, if it's not, then cut your losses, get out. There's no point in staying in.
Okay. What about if you had a stock that you did 3 or 4 hours of research on and you really like the company and then it goes against you? Is that going to be harder to cut?
That's harder because you're becoming more emotionally invested in it because you're putting that time in it and everything.
Trading is one of the only professions where more work gives you less results. Like more research does not do you any good in the world of trading. So
that's a great point.
I just want to send people to that experiment. Look, I'm having fun. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. I'm just as interested as everyone else with eating popcorn and watching this whole thing.
I want to say they did something like this with a monkey years ago, where they had a monkey against like the top fund managers picking stuff, and the monkey beat half of them or something like that. So
yes, and so no one wanted to go against the monkey. I think it was in 1999.
Yeah,
and then so they got a chicken, and the chicken pecked. They threw out some birdseed on a Wall Street Journal, and it pecked. And people went against the chicken. They're like, okay, well, the monkey was tough to beat, but we can beat the chicken. No, the chicken beat everyone. The chicken was amazing.
That's great. So I love it. I love what you're doing with it. We'll link to that in the show notes too. We'll talk about that more in a little bit, but we'll link to that as well as I think as you're an entrepreneur, I think going and even your test is for traders. I think taking that test to get better self-awareness is a great thing too. So I want to thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneur journey, right? You said obviously you started working in this firm and then ultimately took over, bought it out, that sort of thing. So talk about your entrepreneur journey of how you did that and some of the lessons that you've learned along the way in running your business that you feel are important to share.
So I started at Maverick in late 1997, and right around 2000, it was right before 2000, so right in the dot-com boom. Trading was booming, absolutely booming. And the Maverick Trading office was about a 30-minute drive for me to go. And so I'm in the mountains time zone. So, I was waking up at 5:30, driving down there so I could get ready for the opening bell. So I said, I want to open up a satellite office closer to my house. And at that point, I had got a few of my friends into trading, and we had made a little trading group. And so I started up this little satellite office of Maverick Trading closer to my house. And just through word of mouth, that grew a little bit bigger. And in 2003, the gentleman who started Maverick, they wanted to transition into some other things. They were a broker-dealer at the time. They sold off their broker-dealer license, and I bought the rest. And in 2007, transitioned into proprietary trading, because that's what me and like all my friends were doing. We pooled our money together as a trading group. And so everyone had much more buying power than they'd have on their own. So like if I was only using 20% of my account and the other trader in the group needed to use a little bit more, hey, they could use a little bit more capital, and it was no skin off my back. And whenever I needed more capital, I could use it as well. So we turned that into a proprietary trading firm in 2007. And we've been running that really ever since. We started our Forex trading division, Maverick Currencies, in 2009. And really, it's just been running very nice. We've got a great stable of great traders all across the world. And once a year, we have a summit, and we all get together and have some fun and have some drinks. And as you said, though, trading is a lonely game. We really look forward to those summits.
Yeah, I bet.
And again, it starts off with let's learn some new things, and then it ends off with let's try to not drink too much, that kind of thing. So we have a good time. It's really fun.
So what are some of the biggest challenges you've encountered on that journey? Have you ever had any times where things look pretty bleak for you in the business?
Bleak as far as the survivability of the business, no, that's never really been in question. But definitely bleak times as far as running a business. I think people who start a business, we get into it and we never think about all the things that come with it. One of the things that I found was really difficult was managing people. Over the years, we brought on staff, I've brought on coaches, I brought on risk managers, I brought in people for technology. And the hardest thing has been managing people, because this is what I've found. We have awesome staff at Maverick, awesome. But this is what I've learned. If you have 15 people that work for you, one of those people or two is literally at the worst place in their life. Their marriage is falling apart. They've got health problems, and they are at the lowest part of their life. And when you're at your lowest part of your life, I'm not the best worker. You're not the best worker.
Right.
So the question is, what do you do with these employees that were great employees for a very long time, and now they're lousy employees. And if they were like this in the beginning, you would have let them go. But now, how long do you give these people to get off of the bottom of where their life is? They're going through a divorce, they're going through this. And these are people that you have really deep connections with and you love to death. And sometimes they find their way out of it and it's great. And then they're back to being people you can count on. And sometimes you have to let them go. And my personality does not do well with that. That kills me, absolutely kills me. Those are the moments I look back on in running a business and just be like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I just don't know. But yeah, that for me personally has been the biggest struggle of owning a business.
No, those are great points too. And it's something that I think every entrepreneur has to find their way through, right? There's no great playbook for when you have to handle that situation. You have to, each individual's different, each situation's different and all that. I think that is something that as an entrepreneur, you just have to be prepared for and as best you can, and just do your best in the moment to, take care of them, but take care of the business too. I mean, in the end, you can't sacrifice the business for and everybody else and their livelihoods for a challenge like that, right? So you have to keep that perspective. Okay, it's time for Robb's Misfit 3. These are the 3 things that he wants you to take away that you can take, put in your life, your business, make a difference for yourself starting today. And the way that I always frame this to every guest that comes on the show is I say, hey, look, if you're going to leave this earth tomorrow and you can only leave behind your 3 best pieces of wisdom to the generations that come after you to help them live their best life, what would those 3 things be? So, Robb, what are your Misfit 3?
Well, these are actually pretty easy because as I was thinking about what these are for me, it's literally the things that I have told my kids every week since the day they were born. My kids are now in their mid-20s, and I tell them, these are the 3 things I tell them. Live a life with no regrets. When I'm on my deathbed, is there anything I'm going to regret not doing? Is there anything I'm going to regret left unsaid? Is there anyone that I loved that doesn't know how much I love them? Live a life with no regrets. And really, really think about if you were to die today, what would you do? If you knew that tonight you're going to go to bed and never wake up, what are the things you would do? Call your mom, call your dad, make amends with the people in your life that maybe you need to make amends with. Go do that one last thing you always wanted to do. Live your life like that so when you do end up dying, like we all will, you can just die with a smile on your face. So that's my first advice. Just live a life without regrets. Focus on, if you weren't around, what would you do? And then go do that. Do that. It's very simple. Number 2, it's about money. And I've told my kids, getting rich is simple. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's super hard. There is a formula, and this formula it's math. That's all it is math. Every single person is going to start out at the bottom. Now look, some people's bottom is lower than other people's bottom. Some people get to go to college that is maybe paid for either through a scholarship or through a parent. Some people don't get that. But like everyone's going to start out at a lower level. We all have to work. We all have to work. We all have bills. That's what comes with life. No one asked us if we wanted to sign up for life, but here we are. You've got bills to pay. Number 1 is you have to make more money than you spend. Now, how do you do that? I don't think cutting spending is the right way to live a life. Just seeing how little you can spend. So I've always focused on how can I make more? Once you have more money coming in than going out, you have to take that money and put it in an asset. And I challenge people all the time. Let's say that you got this advice at 18 years old. And every paycheck, you took a little bit of that money and went down to a coin shop and bought a 1-ounce silver coin. Or maybe you got a little bit more and you bought a 1/10 of an ounce gold coin because your income is getting bigger. And let's say that's all you did on every paycheck. We're talking a silver coin is what, $22, $23 for a 1 ounce silver coin. By the time you're 50, you're going to have a lot of money. You didn't really notice it. It's very simple. It's very simple. Now, I'm not a huge fan of owning precious metals. They have one of the lower returns over a long period of time. But what if you just put some money into stocks, put some money into real estate, put some money into life insurance, whatever? It doesn't matter. Something that goes up in value. And that's what my kids, when they were little, they didn't understand what an asset was. Something you can buy today that will be worth more. My little boy was into cars. He's always into cars. He's like, Dad, what about a classic car? I'm like, absolutely. So he's on the hunt now for classic cars. So that is number 2. It's really simple. When you understand, and the sad thing is a lot of people don't understand this principle. Once you understand it, it's just a plan. And it's something you have to do your entire life. It never, ever ends. You just have to do this all the time. And number 3, I'm going to end with ready, fire, aim. I tell my kids all the time, action beats inaction every single time. When you're at a point in your life and you don't know what to do something. The wrong answer is to do nothing. If you do something, if you take job A instead of job B, you take job A and you say, oh my gosh, I hate this. Guess what? That's great. You now know you hate this. You hate it. You can just check that off your list. Or you go to job A and you hate it, but you meet someone at job A who gets you the job of your dreams. Take action. Take action. Hesitation is the worst thing for a happy life. Take action. Look, taking action means you are going to fall down a lot. You're going to fall down a lot taking action. Dust yourself off, get back up, get on the horse. Those are my 3.
Excellent 3. I love all 3 of them. Number 1 is a really great one too. I haven't heard that in a while. It's a great reminder. If people do want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Website, maverickTrading.com. If you are interested in trading equities and options for a firm, and Maverick Currencies if you're more interested in Forex and crypto.
Excellent. We'll link to that in the show notes so that people can find it. The best show notes in the business for reasons I'll talk about more in a second. But first, for those of you that are new, this is your first episode with us. Welcome. It is such an honor to have you watching or listening. And I hope you become a regular listener, a regular subscriber. And for all of you that are with us week in and week out, I cannot thank you enough for your support of the show. You are what makes this go in over 100 countries every single week. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And make sure and go out and check out the show notes for this episode. They are the best in the business. Why? Because I do them myself as part of my personal growth routine. I go back through these episodes every single week with great guests like Robb, and I take my best pieces of wisdom and insight and tips and tricks and habits and things, and I share those with you. So check those out. And then go out and give this episode a rating and review. Like and comment on it. Help share Robb's message, because we all know, and I say this in every episode, one great episode can change someone's life. Maybe something that Robb shared today was that missing link you were looking for to get to this next level. So share this with others. And again, Robb, thank you so much for coming on, sharing all your wisdom and your insight today.
Thanks for having me on, and call your mom if that's what you need to do. Call your mom, call your dad.